Everyone, today we're going to talk about how to figure out what you might need to change in your ad to make sure it's going to work better. Whether it's your creatives, your audiences, your destination pages, whatever it might be, we're going to go through a few common scenarios with an ad here that I've chosen purposely that isn't performing as well that we started this month, just to show you how we kind of go through deciding what needs to change, right? So what I'm going to do first, very briefly, just to make sure we're on the same page, is go through what the different metrics mean, and then we can get started, okay, very quickly. So obviously results is what you're optimizing for. In this case, it's leads. This campaign is using Facebook lead forms. Okay, we've been seeing that it's working a lot better for our clients here, especially after iOS 14. And the reach is how many people have seen the ad. An impression is how many times the ad has been seen. Now these sound very similar, but the difference is if one person sees an ad 3 times, reach would count only once, but impressions would count as 3. Okay, which brings us to the next one, which is frequency. It's on average how many times has a person seen the ad. The frequency, you generally want to stay maybe below 3. Once it goes a bit above that, like 4 or 5, especially when it goes beyond that, you're a bit stretching out your, you have like a lower audience. We're going to talk a bit more about that later. Cost per result is, of course, how much it costs you to generate one result. The amount you spent, link clicks, how many times people clicked on the link. CTR, you'll see there's 2 here. So link click-through rate is specifically how many people clicked on the ad, or the percent of people that clicked on the ad. And the CTR all is how many people have clicked on anything. So it could be that little see more button when they want to continue reading the body paragraph of your ad, right? So they don't necessarily go to the link, they'll go just to read on, okay? So this is how many people percentage-wise have actually gone to do that. CPC is the cost per click. And again, this is how many they clicked on anything, and CPC for here is actually how much it costs per person to actually click on your link. CPM is the cost per 1,000 impressions, which is just how much it costs for you to show your ad 1,000 times, okay, towards the audience. Okay, so I'll go through different scenarios and what are some good averages and bad and like worse, because already I can see a few things here which could use improvement. Okay, so first thing, let's talk about how do you know if you need to change your audience. Okay, so changing your audience, you would need to do that. That would be your culprit if you have a high CPM, a high CPC, or your frequency is too high. Okay, so the CPM, if you have a high CPM, it means the people that you're showing this to aren't as relevant to the people that you actually should, right? So here I can see $23, which is fine. This ad we just started, so it's probably not that accurate. So I'm going to be focusing on the top ad right here. 23 is pretty average, good for the client here, for their niche. So that's okay. CPC is a bit high, but we'll see CPC doesn't only pertain to audience. It also depends on the combination of metrics, right? So if you see a high CPM, high CPC, that's a pretty dead giveaway for audience. But the CPM being in a good range here for this niche and the CPC being high is telling me, okay, maybe it's not the audience, but there is something, right? And frequency, of course, too high frequency might mean your audience is too low, the amount of audience, sorry. So that would also go into your budget. How do you know if your budget is too low? If your audience, if your frequency is too high, like I said, if it's like 4 or 5 or 6, it means you have too small of a audience to target, right? Because they're just seeing the same thing over and over, and you're wasting your ad spend and making them angry, right? Because they're always seeing the same thing. So being below 3 is good. 1.73, that's a good number to have here. So that's not an issue. The budget here is fine. In terms of having too high of a budget, you can't really have too high of a budget, but you would be wasting your money even more if you're not optimizing your ads for one of the other things you might need to change. Now, how do you know if it's creatives, like your copywriting or your image or videos, if those aren't, up to par? Generally, what you would have is low CTR, and low CTR we count under 1%. So I can already see here the click-through rate under 1%. So that shows me, okay, that could be more interesting for this audience. As we already went through, we know the audience is pretty relevant here. They're not the issue, but the creative isn't drawing them in, isn't making them click enough, right? And the CPC is also pretty high here, which gives me further evidence that something with the creatives here is just not working. Okay, so it's either the picture or the text. For that, you need to do testing because you can't kind of separate them that way. What you need to do is you need to create then separate ads where you have, let's say, 2 separate variations of copy, 2 separate pictures, and do picture 1 with copy 1, and then picture 1 with copy 2, and then copy 2 with picture 2, just mix them all and then see which one works best. And then you can see which ones to take out. Okay. Next, how do you know if it's your destination page that's the issue? Destination page is like where you send them after they click on the ad, like a website, landing page, lead form on Facebook. So generally, how to know if that's the issue is that you have, high CTR, which means people are clicking it, people are going, they have low cost per click, but you have low results. So people are clicking through, but they're not becoming a lead. So it means something on where you're sending them is kind of making them turn away. So that'll be a dead giveaway. Okay. Now it's also important, very important to know that maybe you need to change your campaign objective. So if you want to generate leads, you're going to go either with a conversion campaign, if you want to use a landing page, for example, or with a lead generation campaign if you're using the on Facebook lead form. But if you want to generate leads and you're doing a page-like campaign, obviously, you're not going to generate the results you have, and you're going to have a hard time tracking, right? So generally, I say to stick within the conversion or lead generation campaigns if you're trying to get leads, other than if you're really just trying to get page likes. But generally, those 2 are the strong ones to go because the algorithm is pretty good figuring out who is to become a lead or not. So looking at these here, I can see that we said audience is okay, budget is okay. It doesn't seem like there's issues with the destination page because our cost per result is pretty good. So it's just the CTR and CPC are pretty high, which tells me, okay, I need to change up the creatives here. All right. And that's it. Just a very simple way to figure out kind of more of the common scenarios about how to change your ads. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Happy Hump Day.